jumping in the helicopter with the knife as it's like taking off, feeling like Rambo and stuff. So those.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Tailboard Misfits podcast, episode number 9. Today, I have the honor and privilege of talking with Trevor Williams. He's an 8-year fireman out of LA County in West Hollywood, California at Firehouse 8. He's the inventor of the Williams key. He's a truck firefighter, so that's kind of cool, even though I'm an engine guy mostly. But other than that, man, how's it going?
Going good. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm glad we were able to make this work. Got the merch supporting. This hat's great, high quality. I love it. It's something I would actually wear. So
Yeah, I
thanks for having
appreciate
me.
that. Is there anything I missed in the intro? Anything you want to add, man? Because, like I said, we barely really know each other, and if there's anything that you would want to add in there.
No, you pretty much summed it up. I'm 34 years old, married, 2 little babies, 2 girls in diapers right now. Not twins, but pretty close in age. Based out of Los Angeles. Been out here a little over half my life, and yeah, work for Los Angeles County Fire Department, and like to invent stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's it. So I really wanted to start. You whenever we linked up, you mentioned the Haiti earthquake, and um, were you living in Haiti during that?
No, so I lived in Haiti for 3 years growing up and as a teenager. My family were missionaries. My dad worked for World Vision, which is a large nonprofit organization. They're all over the world, but happened to work in Haiti, and they do like emergency relief work type stuff. Um, so yeah, I was there as a teenager, and then moved to California at one point, or I still am today, because it got really rough in Haiti. Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Um, and there was like a lot of civil unrest going on while we were living there. So eventually got too dangerous to live, and evacuated to California. So when the Haiti earthquake happened, it was 5 years later. My family was still living there, and or they had moved back. And I happened to go visit first time back in 5 years, the week of the earthquake. I got there a couple days before it happened, and just crazy happenstance, right? Like that, very unlikely, that I would be going back 5 years later, the week of the earthquake. But I knew it was for a reason. I knew I needed to be there for my family, for the country, and I was able to help out. So, yeah, we can talk a little bit about. It was pretty intense. Do you want to hear the
Yeah,
story?
no, let's talk about it because I was about were you already a fireman for LA County when that happened?
No, not yet. I was barely 19 years old when this
Okay.
happened. This was January 12th, 2010, and I'd been an explorer for LA County for a couple years, so I had the firefighter mindset, just didn't have the badge yet. I'd just gotten my EMT like a few months prior, just gotten my national registry. I did some fire science classes, and I think had I done my academy yet? I know that year I no, I did my state academy later that year with the college. So, but I had done a lot of training, taken a lot of classes, so knew how to help people. To sum it up. Anyway, yeah, I was at orphanage when this happened. So the earthquake was a 7.0 earthquake. It lasted 39 seconds long, and it was like very shallow. So it was more devastating, especially to a country like Haiti, who has poor infrastructure, unreinforced concrete buildings, like on a mountain going down to the ocean. So they're like stacked on top of each other, came down like dominoes. Um, yeah, I was in an orphanage on the second floor when it started. I'd never experienced a major earthquake before, even having lived in California for a couple years. We're known for earthquakes. I did not recognize this as an earthquake. It felt like a big Mack truck was barreling down the road at first. It was like a low rumble. Um, and then our building was shaking. I was like, oh man, that's a big truck. That was the first thought in my head. Um, and then somebody yelled earthquake. And Haiti's never experienced an earthquake. Um, at least in modern times. So like not many people would know that this was an earthquake, but there's an American I was with, older lady, she knew, right? So she
Mm.
yelled out earthquake, and I'm like, oh shoot, okay. Um, so after about 5 seconds, it wasn't cool anymore. Like it was like getting really intense. Um, People were screaming. Buildings around us were starting to come down. So dust was flying up in the air. It was loud. And being on the second floor of this orphanage, um, I knew like I couldn't help others if I wasn't alive, by the end of it. So like I made sure I had my plan of like survival. And I saw a truck down below, and I was like, all right, if this building starts to collapse, I'm gonna jump for that truck. And I know that'll kind of break my fall, but I'm not gonna commit to that, unless I have to. So the 39 seconds went by. It seemed like 10 minutes. Like it seemed like super long time. Everything in the house didn't fall. The orphanage didn't fall. But there's cracks everywhere. All the furniture was toppled over. All the cabinets, all the pictures on the wall. Um, just everything came off except for the building stood, which is very fortunate because there's 110 kids in this
Mm.
orphanage. The second floor where I was at was all special needs kids, so they couldn't even like move or save themselves. So as soon as everything stopped, we started grabbing the kids off the second floor, and then all the kids on the bottom floor were able to get out on their own. And in Haiti, most of the establishments are surrounded by walls for protection, usually barbed wire on top or glass or something. So those turn into fall hazards or collapse hazards, right? So we needed to stay away from the building and also the walls. So I found a spot for us to kind of just sit and wait it out. And after the earthquake, there's like hundreds of aftershocks. So some of these aftershocks brought down more buildings because they're as big as 5.0, which is all it took with some of these buildings that were barely hanging on. And then this was also like dusk time. Like this was, I think it was like four or five, like somewhere in that range. And sun was already starting to set, and we lost all cell phone service, had no communication with anybody. Didn't know how bad it was because we were kind of like down in the city. So I couldn't see anything else around me. But from what we experienced, I'm like, oh, that wasn't good. But I had no idea. Um, it was way worse than I thought. So this is the most devastating natural disaster in modern history.
Right. Yeah.
It killed 300,000 people, left another million homeless, another million injured. So that's bad anywhere. If you think of 9/11, that was like changed the history of the world pretty much. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like not even 1% death toll of like what happened in Haiti. But different, right? Different, like um, it wasn't natural, right? So that
Right.
was bad, right? That was really bad. Um, but as far as loss of life goes, this was really, really bad. Everybody was affected. There's only 7 million people in Haiti, so to have millions lose their home or get injured or die, uh, pretty bad. So yeah, I was there and I didn't know where my family was at. Waited a couple hours. My dad showed up. He had an idea of where I might be, but he didn't know like specifically. But he eventually found me. Um,
So in the moments right after like the earthquake hit and you made it out of the building or whatever, like what was going through your head during that time period? I mean, like you mentioned all that recent training that you just did, like I could imagine being put in a situation even not to that extreme, but like I know like the want to probably go out and do things was there. So like what was going through your head at that time?
yeah, exactly. So I I had the urge to just like start exploring, and like you could hear people yelling and screaming, people that were hurt outside the walls. But there's 110 kids who are scared and like don't know what's going on, and like I knew I needed to stay in place, especially because there was a loss of communication between like me and my family, and then the need to like keep these kids like kind of like calm and wrangled, and like normally they don't have to tend to 110 kids all at once.
Right.
It's like all the special needs kids need to be like held outside now, and like it took a lot of hands. So as much as I wanted to go out and be like first responder and like help the people that are trapped under rocks and stuff, um, I had to force myself to stay there. So yeah, good question, but
I mean, at
yeah,
that moment, thinking about it, like that's probably just where you needed to be at the time, anyways.
yeah.
So, how long were you there? Like after the day of the earthquake, how long were you in Haiti after that?
I stayed for a couple weeks after that. My family has a pretty crazy story where we thought they died. They were in a
Mm,
five-story collapse. My mom and two sisters were on the bottom floor. And when my dad found me that day, he came and talked to me, and he had this look I'd never seen before on his face, and he was like, "Trevor, we need to talk." And he said, "I went back to the apartments where your mom and your two sisters were, and there's nobody alive there." Um, he didn't tell me they were dead. He didn't find them, but he knew that they were there when it happened.
mm.
And there's like complete collapse. Like there's no way there's survivors in there. Calling for people, nobody's answering. Um, so what ended up happening is they were all on the bottom floor of this five-story apartment that hangs off a mountain. And when the earthquake happened, it pancaked down floor by floor. They were all standing together, which doesn't normally happen. And the wall broke open where they were standing. They jumped out, tumbled down the mountain, building collapsed, tumbled behind them. Two of them were barefoot. They spent the night in a tree. Haiti is super dangerous to begin with for women and kids and stuff. And looting started happening right away. Prisons broke open. Like bad people got loose. There was rumors of tsunami coming. So it was just like chaos. Like there's
Mm.
so much going on. And then yeah, the no phones are working and bodies everywhere. So we ended up reuniting the next day at my dad's office. Like we went to my dad's office to get like shovels and tarps and water and food and stuff to go dig. And that's right when they were getting dropped off to like somebody picked them up the next day and got them to the office, and they're like beat up and bloody and covered in debris. My youngest sister was like 4, she couldn't see, so they were carrying her. My mom was limping. Like it was a scene. um
Wow.
but going from like thinking that they hadn't survived to getting them back, it was like a beautiful thing, and something I still think about almost every day. They got a second chance. So um, they eventually, the next day, they got evacuated out by the Air Force at the U.S. Embassy, and I was like, Dad, I gotta stay. Like I gotta help. I know the language. I'm like an EMT. I've done my fire class. I've done some training. Like I know what to do here. Like, and people were telling me like, you have the golden ticket to go back to America and the U.S. Embassy, and they're not letting people leave, but the Air Force is doing. You can take it. And I was like, my golden ticket is to stay here. Like everybody's gonna want to be trying to get here to help, and they can't. So I'm gonna stay. And my dad's like, yeah, you're right. Here's the keys. You stay. So my dad went with my family, and then I was on my own at 19 in Haiti, in this big disaster for a couple weeks. So pretty
Wow.
nuts.
Like, what did that look like? Were there organizations there pretty quickly that you were able to be a part of, or were you more or less freelancing, for lack of better words?
A little bit of both. So the first thing I did was I went to the World Vision headquarters where my dad was the director at the time, and they knew me kind of. They knew my dad for sure. Um, but yeah, they knew who I was, and I was like welcome there and stuff. And they looked at me as my dad, kind of in a way. Like I had the
Hmm.
same capabilities, and I didn't. Um, but they were like, okay, yeah, you're in charge of this food distribution. And so we loaded up some trucks. World Vision had like water and supplies and some food and stuff. And we went out, and food, water, and gasoline were the three items that were like everybody needed. Nobody cared about money or anything like that. It was just the gasoline to power the generators and the vehicles, and then food and water, because all the grocery stores collapsed. People weren't getting the food and water uh, like from a store, and people were starving in Haiti before this happened anyway. So people always need food and water. Um, so we went out in these trucks and we started trying to hand this stuff out, and we just got mobbed. Like it got super dangerous. People were jumping all over the truck, trying to take stuff, pushing us. And I was like, all right, we gotta go. Let's get out of here. That didn't go well. And it was like, we were like fearful for our lives and stuff. And we got back to the headquarters, and I was like, all right, we got to make some changes. So the next time we went out, we had security with us. We had a clear exit that was like unobstructed. We got people like organized a little bit better, and we tried again. We tried again in like a big football field or soccer field, and happened again. It was like a little bit slower to happen, and we got a little bit more food out, but it happened again, and it was just too dangerous. So we're like, yeah, this isn't working. So I went back to World Vision, and kind of looked for the next thing that I would be more helpful with. And I ended up joining up with a private search and rescue team, and we went all over the place trying to pull bodies out and stuff. And it wasn't like, because it was a small team, we didn't have I guess the knowledge of like where people were. There's people everywhere, but like where we would be the most effective, where are the true saves, that sort of thing. So we went around, and it was just like people would be like, come help, and we'd do what we could, but it was mostly like body parts that we were pulling out, and nobody alive, which was unfortunate. But I think the hard part for me wasn't like pulling a dead body out. It was the family that was there, like kind of like hoping, them going through that process to like, please save them. Okay, there's people here to save, and then we can't save them.
That's even like just like today, which I'm sure you go through it all the time as well. It's a lot of times it's not like the situation that we're presented with the actual patient, right? It's always the family members' reactions to that really
Right.
mess with us a lot. Um, so you were involved in some search and rescue, attempts and everything like that. Did you at any point already, like, did you already made up your mind that you wanted to work for LA County before you ever went there?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd been an explorer, so like a kid who trains with
Hmm.
the department, does ride-alongs and stuff. I'd been doing that for years. I'd done my Explorer Academy, which allows me to do the ride-alongs. And so this is a crazy part to this story. I was wearing an LA County shirt and an LA County hat like during this time, because I lost everything in the apartment collapse. So all my clothes and everything were gone except for what I was wearing the day that it happened. And LA County has an international search and rescue team,
Hmm.
Task Force 2. So when I was at the U.S. Embassy seeing my family off, Task Force 2 lands, and I see like LA County, and they have a big team. They can send out like 80 people on a heavy team. Um, and so there's a fence between us, but I like flagged one over, and I'm like pointing my hat, my shirt and stuff, and they're like, "What the heck is this kid wearing all this county stuff?" So really, really weird kind of thing. And I told him, I'm like, "Hey, LA County Explorer, like I was here when it happened. Can I help you guys? Like, can I be part of the team?" And they're like, "No, sorry, kid." And now I understand, like, there's a lot of like FEMA and after rules they have to follow, and they
Hmm.
can't just like take people on and have them be part of the team. Like, it's a very structured approach that they take. And it would be like me like going up to like Marines, and being like, "Hey, can I like go into combat with you guys? Like,
Right,
I
right.
like I like war or whatever, like you can't just do that." So that was like kind of disheartening, because I'm like, dude, I can't believe we're both here, and like I have like local knowledge, like I know the language, I've lived here. Maybe,
Could have been an asset.
yeah, maybe if I like talked to the right person, they would have seen that. Um, but they basically told me to kick rocks. Sorry, kid. Um,
Yeah.
and I wasn't hired yet. I was in the process, but I wasn't hired yet. And And so I was like, all right, one day I'm gonna get hired, and then one day I'm gonna be on that team. So I did. Eventually, I did get hired, and then it's like a 2-year process. It's like a specialty team. So you're taking a lot of extra courses. You're out on your own time. There's an application process. It's intense to like get on that team, and eventually I did get on that team. So I kind of brought that full circle.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, that was.
Was
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just saying, was there any like specific point? Obviously, the stuff with your family was very significant for you. You know, thinking that your mom and your sisters had passed away, and then seeing them again, that's got to be pretty impactful. But from the weeks that you were there, was there any just like one story or one moment there that was just like something? I'm sure there's multiple, but just like that one that just sits with you forever, that you look back on and makes you like really proud, or just makes you think of it a lot.
Um, let's see. That's a good question. Like nobody's actually asked me that before. I think the most like the most beautiful moment was getting my family back for sure.
Sure.
Like that probably in my entire life. Like going from like total loss to like second chance. They got a second chance.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of uh ugly stuff going on with the death and the the looting and kidnapping and violence and stuff like that. I think there was a moment where I saw a huge impact. Actually, there's two moments. Um, One was towards the end. I was part of a rubble removal crew that was digging out rubble from wells, so people could get clean water again, like whole villages. Um, and that was like so simple, right? But had a huge impact because now all these people are gonna like survive because they can have water again when this is their only water source. Um, the other big impact, this one might have been actually bigger impact. I ended up joining a helicopter team, and it was a group of independently wealthy uh, people from Utah flew their helicopters down, and they were just there to help. And I kind of pitched myself to them, and they're like, "Yeah, like come on and help." So for about a week, I was loading up helicopters, flying all over the country, and we're dumping food for people. And we had the same scenario where the helicopters were getting mobbed
Mm.
initially, so they had to learn from that. And they started doing like the hover, and then we'd unload everything without landing. And then towards the end, we got real creative, and we'd like we could land on a like I don't know, not a pier, but like a concrete thing out towards the water, and dump all the food on the other side, so the helicopter would kind of block. We'd make sure people didn't get close to the helicopter, then take off. Then everybody could go and like grab their food without us there and
Yeah.
walk it out amongst themselves. We'd also hover above like rivers and like dump into the river, but like out of the woodworks, there'd be like hundreds of people coming out to like catch the cans just floating down the rivers and stuff like that.
Right.
So that was super impactful. There's points where towards the beginning, 50-pound bags of beans, Rambo knife, jumping out, cutting them open. People were rushing us. Helicopters taking off, jumping in the helicopter with the knife as it's like taking off, feeling like Rambo and stuff. So those are
I
some
mean,
fun moments.
unfortunate. Yeah, those are like unfortunate circumstances, but those are like memories and experiences that a lot of people will never ever have, and that's pretty cool. So you get home from Haiti and you get hired on with LA County. What that's a large department. It's probably one of the largest in the United States. What's the hiring process there like? I mean, is it pretty basic compared to other departments, or is there anything special about it?
um, Nothing special. I was trying to get hired during a tough time. So 2008, I turned 18, put in my application. 2008, there's like housing market crash. They're blacking out, browning out stations. They're doing hiring freezes. So tough time to get hired. In the meantime, I'm like, I want to work for LA County Fire, but I want to be a firefighter wherever I can. So I put I filled out 60 applications over the course of a few years, flew all over the country. I applied in Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, FDNY, Washington, Arizona, Las Vegas, everywhere, all the big cities. I tried to go and test. My process took about 7 years.
Wow.
Um, so you fill out your application. You got to do it's called CPAT, which is like your
Hmm.
physical test. Um, and then you go and you wait for your see if you get accepted. Wait for your letter. Go take your written test. After that's the oral interview. After that, it's your background investigation. After that, your medical. Um, Now, for me, these things were like spaced a year apart. So things were expiring. Like my medical expired. So a year later, I had to go back and do that again. The background expired. I had to go back and do that again. I had to do those like 3 times.
Yeah.
Um, and that whole time, I'm like, I'm keeping my nose clean, staying out of trouble. Afraid to travel because I'm like, what if I missed the letter in the mail and I missed my opportunity that I've been working years at? Um, so just like a tough time to get hired, but in the meantime, I did a lot of stuff. Like I had tons of jobs. Surviving out here in LA, Los Angeles on my own is like a hard thing. Um, so my family's in Haiti and stuff, and then Connecticut after the earthquake. So I never had like family out here. So I did commercial construction. I did sales for Google. I did Uber. I did acting, modeling. I started a nonprofit after the Haiti earthquake, so I was running that. Became an EMT for a little bit, and then I got hired at a volunteer fire department, which there was only 2 volunteer fire departments out here in LA, and they're as competitive almost as paid departments because
Wow.
people see it as like a big resume builder, and so there's like intense process just to get volunteer hired. Um, so yeah, that was my process, and in like I think 2015, I started the tower for LA
Okay.
County. Finally started, and six
So,
month tower, and
okay.
been on ever the past 8 years.
Have you been at 8 the whole time? Firehouse 8?
Most of it, they move you around a little bit when you're a rookie,
Hmm.
but I ended up at eights at the end of my rookie year, and it's a house that you want to be at. Like some houses they don't let you in or whatever, or they're really competitive. So if you can end up at a house like that, you want to kind of cherish that. And as long as you're like still learning and growing and that sort of thing, there's no sense in moving, in my opinion. Some people
Right, yeah.
every year they pick a new house and they try out a new area, but Firehouse 8 is a very traditional firehouse. So there's 39 firefighters that work there, split up into 3 shifts. We have a 3-story building built in the 50s, so like really old, been around for a while. A lot of tradition has gone through there, and we had the first truck too, so that there's like the history of that, and a lot of TV shows were filmed at that station. Emergency, the first episode was filmed at that station. Um, More recently, LA Fire and Rescue. It's a TV show that came out last year. They had us all hooked up there. They spent like 2 years with us filming and did like one episode, at our station.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's cool though. I mean, like, I'd imagine like the opportunities for that stuff, being in LA happens a lot more there, and then just the history. I've always been like a history buff in general, uh, but obvious as a fireman, like I've been kind of nerding out on some fire service history. So like emergency, right? It's a classic. Being filmed at your fire station, that's awesome. I My favorite station in Longview. It's a little bit older. It was built in 1936. Same thing. It's technically 3 stories. It's 2 stories with a basement. The basement's our gym. Like we have the poles that we use every single day. Like it's
right.
legit, and I like it. So I definitely relate in that sense. Um, so whenever you were assigned to eights, were you immediately assigned to a truck, or is that a spot that you had to like work your way into?
Usually you kind of have to work for that spot. They put the more experienced senior guys on the truck. I was assigned to the fire engine initially, and then I bid the truck spot So after a year, you get bid rights. You can leave the station. You can bid another shift. You can bid your own shift on a different piece of equipment, which
Hmm.
not many people do. But I really wanted to work on the truck, and take a lot of pride in that truck. It Our truck is a '99. Like
Wow.
it's old, but it's been taken good care of. We need a new one, but it's we every day we put it through its paces. Then the mechanic comes out and fixes something, and then we have the rest of our day, and it works for the most part. So, but yeah, a lot of pride. That truck's seen a lot of fires and been through a lot. So I
How
definitely
many
wanted to
people
work
are
on it.
on your crew?
There's 13.
13. That's
Yeah,
that's a lot of people. So you have an engine and a truck. What else is at the station?
there's a paramedic squad. So
Okay.
two medics go on the paramedic squad. We don't transport. We have ambulance
Okay.
provider for transport, um, which we should transport because at least since 2020, it seems like we're having long waits for ambulance, and our we have like budget issues all the time. So being able to transport would probably fix that, but there's
Yeah.
it's over my head,
We
over
do.
my pay grade.
Sure, yeah.
Um,
We do transports. The problem that you're talking about, like you hear about it all the time, just across the country, and it's a private EMS issue. Which, if you were EMT for a while, you probably did that. I did that for a while, and kind of have an insight on what that's like. It's no one wants to do that job. So,
right.
uh, back in the day, private EMS used to be a career. Now I feel like it's just a stepping stone. So
Yep.
they have their own issues. That's awesome, dude. So you get some time on a truck, and uh, I'm kind of like moving in to the Williams key, right? Like, how did
Yep.
that come about? I've seen people make their own ish versions, but yours is pretty unique with the way you do it. And like, can you just like walk us through how it came about? What
Yeah.
was your thought process? Some troubles with it or whatever?
Yeah. Sure. Um, so I never intended on like selling this product. Um, while I was on the job, I touched briefly on it, or trying to get hired. Sorry. Um, I was working commercial construction, and specifically as a carpenter doing doors and locks. So it's a specialty trade. You got a million little tools and a cart full of stuff that you're always like you're always making stuff or buying like little weird tools and stuff that help you with your trade. So doing that, I learned about hundreds of locks and doors and combinations. Have a pretty good understanding of how doors and locks work. After doing that for a while and installing thousands of them. So that kind of started my the that was kind of the birth of like any tool that I made. Um, I was always thinking outside the box a little bit. As a firefighter, we have to do that, right? We're critical thinkers, problem solvers, and as a construction worker, same thing. You're constantly like having to like install stuff or fix something that didn't quite go right or whatever, and you're having to think with your surroundings and the tools that you have, and sometimes the tools you don't have, or we might make one. Um, so when I got hired on the job, I had like my little wizard bag of stuff that I thought would be quick access tools and tools that um, we would use on the job, not just for doors, like maybe a key for a manhole cover or an elevator pick or something like that. Um, or I have like mini bolt cutters for people get the ring stuck on. So just whatever. If there's a call and I was like, man, I wish I had something that did this, I'd either go try and find it or try and make it. Um, so one of the things I had made was what's now known as the Williams key, but like a cruder version out of a framing square. And I encourage people, hey, make your own if you don't want to spend the money and stuff. Like I'm not here to make money off of people. I want firefighters to be better at their craft and to be able to be quick and get in and make a difference, save a life, or prevent damage, right? To grandma's house, she doesn't need her door kicked in when you could easily bypass her lock maybe. So I started pulling this tool out pretty much every shift and using it. And before long, people were interested. And hey, Trevor's like pretty handy, with getting in and doors and stuff. They started noticing that. And as a rookie, like you don't want to like, flex your anything. You're kind of like humble about it and stuff. But um, I did take pride in getting into doors, and I was always sizing doors up as we're pulling up. Um, and trying to be one step ahead when it came to that sort of thing, and thinking about the tool that I would use to get in, if there's a tool I could use to not do damage. Even if like I can pick locks and bump locks and stuff like that as well. So sometimes, those tend to be the best method if there's like a deadbolt or something. But there's different tools for every door and lock. The Williams key doesn't fix everything. It's not a magic key or anything like that, but there's a place for it. And when it works really good, and it's fast, and it doesn't do damage. So people started asking me like, hey, you mind making me one of those stupid things, that you carry? Because nobody wants to give you a compliment, right? In the fire service, they like something of yours. They won't like make it known very clearly, right? But so people wanted my tool. And I was like, yeah, you can make one, or it's gonna take me a while to make one. So maybe I'll see about having like a fabricator make us like a batch of 10 or 20. So I did that, handed them out, and people liked them. And before long, like word spread, and like other people I didn't even know were coming to me, asking me for that tool. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to like start charging people if they cost me money, to have them made. So, yeah. So the next batch was like 100, and those went really quick. And I was like, all right, I think this is like turning into a thing. So, um, I don't know, let's go with it. So I made a logo, a website, all that stuff, and I've always liked the color black, and I found that if I painted them black, I could laser engrave people's names on them pretty easily. If they're not black, the cheap engravers will like bounce off the metal, so it doesn't engrave. So there's a guy at my station with a laser engraver, and he taught me how to use that, and I bought that off of him. And then once I started putting the names on it, everybody wanted it. And we're firefighters, we love like customizing our stuff. We got our name on everything, and they turn into good gifts,
Right.
good Proby gifts, Christmas gifts. They're cheap, so it's like if you lose it, you can probably afford to buy another one if you want. And you can afford to give them out as gifts. So yeah, that's kind of how it got its start. And
Did the original concept have the shove knife on the other end?
let's see. Of mine, yeah. Mine did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you make collapsible ones? Is that as well now? Like
Yeah.
the ones that fold in almost together?
hmm So after a while, people were like, "Man, this is great, but it doesn't really fit in my turnouts. Um, can you make it like fold up or collapse?" And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I mean, I can try. Like the issue I see is like a screw getting in the way. So like you're not able to fully get into the reveal of a door. So I spent maybe 6 months or so trying to engineer something that would still be effective. And with my folding version, the handle slides so that there's a screw on it, but the screw slides out of the way, and then you're still able to use it and keep the screw from um, bumping into the reveal in the door. So it's still effective. The one I always recommend people get the original, the standard, because it's one solid piece of metal, so it's stronger. Um, and then there's no screw, so there's one feature you're able to do where you have like a diagonal reach. If I got it. So um, this is your biggest working reach right here. So if you hold the
Hmm.
tip of it, which is like an unconventional like way to use it, but if you hold the tip and slide it through the reveal, you have this entire area here where you can reach with, or before you only have your shove knife to grab with, or if there's an anti-vandal plate in the way, you have the blade side which can reach behind that anti-vandal plate. So with the standard, you get all three of those features. But with the folding, you can't do that diagonal reach because once you start sliding the entire tool through the gap, that screw's gonna get in the way and bump. Also, anytime you have like a moving part, that's a point of failure. So
Right.
eventually, you know, you might end up breaking that or whatever. So it's not quite as durable as the original. People love it. I've had no complaints really. Um, but it's also more expensive. So like if you want cheaper, stronger, more features, like just get the original.
hmm Yeah, I know at work I have a through the lock bag that I just carry with me wherever I'm at. And what's funny is I did a podcast with a guy named Adam Haywood, and he's out of Colorado, and his niche is through the lock, everything from like you said, picking locks to with saws and doing that kind of stuff. And we were talking through it, so I was like, my department is supposed to be buying some through the lock stuff, but I don't necessarily want to wait. So I was like, I'm gonna go buy my own stuff. And then in the meantime, you had reached out and everything, and I was like, I'd bought a framing square because I was gonna go make my own. And then you sent me that. I was like, well, I don't need that anymore, so I just put yours in my bag. And like as soon as I got it, I was sitting there messing with it at the station, and we were, showing the guys how to use it because, some of the through the lock techniques, whether it be the Williams key or getting through a deadbolt some other way, like it'll kind of make you look like a rock star in the right situation. Like you're not damaging people's stuff. You're not having to bust through the door with your set of irons. And um, I mean, just the other day, it wasn't with the Williams key. It responded to a fire alarm at an apartment complex, and they had a tenant deadbolt, so a deadbolt from the inside that you can't see from the outside, and it wasn't locked, so I knew no one was home, most likely, anyways, and was able just to bump that deadbolt down with a little rubber mallet and get in there and slide it out, right? And we were in through the door in no time. I mean, it didn't take that long. And that Williams key, which if anyone goes to your Instagram and follows you, they'll be able to see time and time again just how quickly you can get through those doors. And a lot of times they'll get through some doors way quicker than a set of, conventional irons and doing
Yeah.
it the old school way, if you will,
There's a
with little
time
to no damage. So,
Yeah, there's a time and place for the irons. I love them. I've got a, let's see, here, original Hugh Halligan. So like I'm a nerd too when it comes to this sort of thing. You can see his name on there. These are very rare.
wow.
I don't know if you've heard about these or anything, but it's like a museum piece almost, right? You don't want to use it, but I look for stuff like this. So I love the Halligan, the history behind it. And then I've experimented with multiple different sets that I've made and brought into my station, including Fire Mall. I don't know if you've
hmm
seen his stuff, but those are some heavy duty. He sent me a set, and so we use that on the truck sometimes. So yeah, there's definitely a time and place for all that stuff, but Williams key is quick and fast when it's the right door. So part of the training I tell people is like, hey, just learn to recognize your doors. Um, and you'll be good. Put a little bit of like that's where the training comes in. Put a little bit of effort into like knowing what types of doors it works on. Get out there, train, know how to like troubleshoot a few situations. Like I recommend people gap the door if the reveal is too tight. So a flathead screwdriver or a wedge, gap that door. The Williams key should go in easy. Like you shouldn't be forcing it. It's not a prying tool. Because people get mad. They'll send me like they jacked up their tool or whatever, and I was like, it's think of it like a lockpick set. Like it's not meant to force anything. So if you're struggling with it and you're forcing it, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's more of a finesse piece than a forceful piece, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Just hitting on that topic, like we at my department we're responsible for going out and doing like inspections as well. So we have a downtown area which is where I was assigned for the last 3 years now, and um, we would go through all these rows and strips of businesses and go around, and that's what we would do. We would go look at their doors and like, hey, if we needed to get through here, like how would we do it? And a version of like a personal or made version of the Williams key, like that defeated almost every single one we'd come across for the most part. Just taking the time on certain things. We had a small little fire at a restaurant not long ago, and it was on the south side a little bit more of a ghetto part of the town, and we went around to the back side of the restaurant, and the back door had like where they used to have a panic bar. Now then you could see where they used to have like a drop bar with the carriage bolts, and then now they got rid of that. Now it's just like a traditional deadbolt. So I was able to go and show some of the new guys like, hey, like this is like every version of the door we might come across, and this is how we would get through every single one of those and
That's funny.
quickly too. So yeah, it was a cool little scenario that I saw the door and was just like after the fact, the door was open already, but after the fact, I was sitting there looking at it and I was like, that's, there's like 4 or 5 different ways that they used to lock this door. And now it's just a simple deadbolt. So like, just take the time to go show some of the newer guys that.
Yeah. Me and my wife bought a tanning salon right in early 2020 before things started getting shut down. And it was kind of a bad business move because it was bad timing for one. But
Yeah.
we got broken into like multiple times. And we had a back door with panic hardware and then like a security gate after that and a drop bar. And somebody hooked up like a pickup truck to it and like yanked the door out of the I'm like, dude, there's nothing in here. Like what are you trying to do? And we shut down the salon now, and even for us, like we couldn't get anything out of the salon. Like those beds are like 1,000 pounds. There's never any money in the cash register. So
Yeah.
I built the biggest, baddest security door after that. I was like, if anybody knows how to do this, like it's me. So I took pride in like making a really secure back door. But when you're hooking up a pickup truck to it, it's like that's like
There's
Fast and
not a whole
Furious
lot you can
style,
do.
like you're like stealing safes out of banks and stuff. So lots of
So,
work to do.
yeah, along like the Williams key, like I know you make, and I'm going to throw the links to your website in the description of this podcast and everything. And I know you make different sizes, but it's practically all the same concept with the Williams key. Aside from that, like, have you made anything else? Are you looking into making anything else? I know you mentioned like you're always trying to solve problems if you don't have tools for it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I probably have like 10 products out there. The main ones, and I'm getting so busy now with orders. Like we've sold over 30,000 of these things. Um, and I'm like, I just signed a contract with a fulfillment facility to like start processing this stuff for me because I've been doing most of it on my own. Um, I don't promote the stuff that is hard for me to make or where I can't
Hmm.
do it in bulk because some of the stuff I do like myself. Like I have a Williams wedge that glows in the dark. It's really cool. It's the skull logo, and people love it, but I never promote it because I I have to like mix the compounds and the glow in the dark and put in the molds and the pressure pot and like clean it up, and it takes me a long time for each wedge, and I'm proud of it. And it was like one of those things I made when I had the time to do it. Um, but now I'm like, oh no, somebody ordered a wedge. Like somebody ordered 10 yesterday, and I'm just like, oh, I'm not
I
even
know
sure
I
I have
do.
them.
I've never put two and two together, so this is funny you're saying this. I know of at least 3 people that I work with that have a Williams wedge that is the same thing you're talking about. I
Really?
did never put two and two together, but I
Oh
know people
man.
that have them. So,
Yeah, my blood, sweat, and tears are in those things. Um, so that's one product, and it's like it's not like I could just come out as a nobody and hey, I sell the Williams wedge and you should buy it. But once I had the platform of the Williams Key brand, um, people trust it and they're like, oh, what else do you got? Like I like the Williams Key. You sell anything else? So now they'll come to the store with a shopping cart and just load it up. And we have like bundle deals now, which I just started doing, and they've been like selling like hotcakes. Um, where there's like the number one bundle, and then there's the ultimate bundle deal, and it offers like a lot of stuff that we sell. Where it's like the key, and you get a free custom engraving, and you get stickers with it, and you get a Molly tactical case, and I carry that. I have a belt on my turnout pants. I carry the case in there with my key. But especially for like we have like Navy SEALs buying and SWAT and breachers and stuff. They like to carry it on their bulletproof vests, that tactical case. Um, and then we partner with Door Jam, and that's a great way to hold your door open after you open that door. It's like a rubber band. So we sell that, Williams Key version of that. Inward door slip knife pairs really well with the Williams Key. So Williams Key does good at outward swinging doors mostly, sometimes inward, but majority are outward swinging. And we're door slip knife. We partnered with Firefighter Swipe Tool, and we market their product in our slip knife marketing, and that's good for inward swinging doors. And it's also a good way to check if there is a deadbolt, because on an inward swinging door, you
Right.
don't know if a deadbolt's engaged or not. And this is like a long credit card type thing, flimsy plastic, slides through. You can check if you hit a deadbolt. You're like, all right, cool. We're probably gonna force this for sake of time, or if you know how to pick locks quickly, maybe that's an option, or bump it or whatever. So yeah, we saw that. Those sell really good. I made a device called the RIP cord, RIP cord, and it stands for Rescue in Progress. And we got new SCBAs, and guys were having trouble deploying their buddy breathers, their EBSS. And so the RIP cord attaches to your buddy breather. It's glow in the dark. It's a pyramid, something that is like textile and you can feel with a gloved hand. And it helps you deploy that buddy breather in like without having to look at it, without, if you're inside a fire. So we make that. Another thing that I don't promote because it's like a lot of labor goes into it, and it's me doing it. And then one thing that's super simple, I'm pretty proud of. I think it's a unique idea, and they've been selling. We sell a lot of these, like 1,000 at a time, to departments and whatnot. Are these door hangers? So very basic. You hang this on a door after you make entry if nobody was home. So let's say fire alarm's going off. You break into this house to shut it off, make sure there's no fire. But nobody's home. You don't know who to talk to, who to tell. You leave this on the door. You can leave a note. Hey, fire alarm was going off. We made entry. Sorry, we knocked over your flower pot, or there was no damage. Like, we got in through the window and you're good to go. Here's the incident number if you want to include that. Maybe you'd never want to hear from these people again.
Yeah.
You can be as descriptive or vague as you want, and it's good customer service. So think if you came home to your own house and you see like footprints or like something is not where you left it, right? You'd be like, oh shoot, did I get broken into? You might never know that the fire department was there. So it's unsettling coming home to something like that, and that's a quick fix. Really inexpensive and good customer service for a department to be able to provide to their customers, when they go in. So we sell these by the thousands, and departments we offer, like, you want to put your logo on it, like we can put your patch on there, and it's just a nice friendly thing to leave. So I'm pretty proud of those. So I try and like give samples with every key order just so people know about them, and there's the awareness for it. So that's another product.
That's cool.
Yeah, lots of
and
stuff.
those are all available through your website.
Yep, they're all on the website. You can get lost on the website because there's tons of like merch and apparel and hats and stickers, and I kind of went nuts with that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Well, firefighters love stickers.
yeah,
So
I know. We love our stickers.
there's a joke with me about the stickers. So I say that like everyone's got the Nalgene cups with all the stickers on it and everything. Like my podcast table, stickers everywhere. So yeah, and the stickers you sent, they're badass, man. They're cool. They're pretty unique, and some of them are funny. I like them. So,
Thank you.
but all available on the website, right?
Yeah, they're all available on the website. We're in the process right now. We're in week 4 of a 8-week new website build. So the new website should be really clutch, very clean, easy to navigate, and less buggy. Like it seems like every week there's some issue with my website right now, especially with the volume going through it. So yeah, pretty soon we'll launch our new website. This will be our third launch of a website, and this should be like the big leagues, like a really good professional website. Yeah, so hopefully no more issues. You'll be able to find what you're looking for. You'll be able to see all the featured products. We have a new product dropping probably this week, maybe next week. So
Okay.
stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm always got a few tricks up my sleeve and working on something on the back end with this stuff.
That's cool. So one more thing, we've been going at it for probably almost an hour at this point, and I love to hear stories of the fire service, if that makes sense. I work at we were kind of talking, I work for a relatively small department. So anytime I get the opportunity to talk to someone from a big department who the opportunities just present themselves a little bit more to do the job. And really the location of where you work at. I'd imagine you have some pretty cool stories that might seem everyday to you, that aren't to the rest of us, if that makes sense. So, do you have like if you just highlight one story that you've had over the last 8 years working in LA County and specifically in the area that you would want to share or tell a good story, whether it be a fire or like a famous person you run into or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever the case is.
So, um, there's a lot of different ways I could go with this. I'll share a few like celebrity encounters, I guess, and then um, is am I free to speak freely on any call? Like,
Yeah, dude.
okay, there's no
Yeah.
limitations. Okay.
I mean, obviously, you should probably be careful from HIPAA, but yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we work. We're up against Hollywood Hills, so we cover Sunset Boulevard. A lot of celebrity action there. Um, I guess one cool. It wasn't a call, but cool interaction was. Did I lose you? You still there?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. Sorry, it like froze for me for a second.
Yeah.
Saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in his convertible. I think it was like a Rolls Royce or something, smoking his cigar, everything you'd imagine him to be. He was, just man of a man, still, rolling Sunset Boulevard, and he pulled up to our fire engine and fist bumped my captain as he's smoking his cigar and
Uh,
everything, and drove off. So, um, yeah, that's kind of like it's not common, but you get the celebrity sightings and stuff. Sometimes there's a few firemen who go to a gym locally in the area, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we keep seeing Will Ferrell. He likes that gym now, so he's been working out there a lot and stuff like that." And a call I was on, I guess I shouldn't name the name of who the call was, but
sure.
I think I'm okay to just describe the scenario. Um,
Hmm.
it was a medical call, and we go in, and I'm like, oh man, they must have some like really enthusiastic like Comic-Con teenager or somebody that lives here, because there's Batman murals like all over this house, and like everywhere we go. I'm like, it's kind of weird because we're not here for like a young person, and come to find out the person who invented Batman, that was his house, and that person is no
Wow.
longer no longer alive. Um, but we were in the presence of like greatness inside that house. There's probably like some of those comic books go for like $50 million, like the original ones. I'm like, there's probably every original comic book of Batman in this house, So there's
Man.
yeah, you just find yourself in like scenarios you never thought you'd be in, and I'm not a big like comic nerd, but like if you were, dude, you'd
You
just
could
be
still,
tripping
yeah.
out, right? And you could still feel it, like this is like a special place, like so. Yeah, you
Yeah.
never know what you're gonna run into over there. Um, so I can tell a story. I don't know if you're familiar with the demographic of West Hollywood, um, but there's a certain different types of people. I'm trying to be PC here. Um, it's a very sexualized city. I'll put it that way.
Hmm.
A lot of drugs, a lot of nightclubs, a lot of like strip clubs and sex shops and all that sort of thing, right? So people go to West Hollywood to party. Um, I remember probably the weirdest call I've been on there was in my rookie. That was towards the end of my rookie year, and we go. It's a medical call. It's overdose. GHB is a drug people use to party with in West Hollywood, and they end up like passing out and stuff. So anyway, we go in this house, and the guy who greets us is the partner of this other individual, and he's all worked up, and so we get him removed, and he's like, "Yeah, my partner's in the other room." and I'm the new guy, right? So I go in and I find this guy like super naked, face down, sweaty, and he's like a pretty big dude. Um, and so I'm like, oh, let's make sure he's not dead, like check pulse. All right, cool. He's still face down. I'm like, all right, we gotta roll him over, and we're like having trouble because he's sweaty. And we roll him over, and he's wearing a cock ring, and he's pretty like well endowed and stuff. And when we flip him over, his member strikes me on my boot, and it makes a noise, like it makes a thud, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like mortified, just like everything I'm
And
seeing
as a
for one.
rookie.
Yeah, it's my first time kind of in this scenario. Hopefully my last. But also just feeling like it still haunts me. Like I can still feel it on my foot sometimes, So we all had a big laugh later about that, and like a lot of people witnessed that happen. So it wasn't just me like telling some story. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you remember?"
Mm,
So
that's
yeah,
great.
I would say that's like a pretty unique story, specific to my area. Um,
Yeah, for sure. For
but
sure.
like weird stuff happens sometimes, and we're there to witness it.
Well, yeah, thanks for sharing that because, like I said, I always am super interested to hear. Just like I said, the opportunities have to be more prevalent in some areas than they are the others. So, no, and I figured working in West Hollywood, like that's got to be pretty unique to a lot of firemen will never experience that. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that
well,
on anybody unless they're into it. So
yeah, no joke, no joke, no joke. Well, Trevor, man, it's been awesome talking to you. I appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing what you know, man. Like pretty unique story. Trevor Williams experienced Haiti earthquake after living there and then returning just for a few weeks. Like that's a big story alone. And then you come back right through the search and rescue efforts and kind of prelude what you do now with LA County. So I thought that's pretty awesome and. I've really enjoyed hearing about you, man, and I'm excited to have you as a contact now and be able to reach out. Um, and now I know the a face with a name and a face with the products that you make. 'Cause like I said, I didn't put two and two together with the Williams wedge, so that's awesome. Um, if people wanted to reach out, if people wanted to, we mentioned the website. If you don't mind dropping the website name, your Instagram, Facebook, anything like that that you would feel comfortable sharing, where people could reach out to you.
yeah, so williamskey.com is the website. We got the store there. If you Google Williams Key, we have a lot of distributors. So anywhere you want to get the key is fine. Like it all supports Williams Keys. So williamskey.com is probably the best place to get it though. The Williams Key for Instagram, the Williams Key for TikTok. We're on Facebook. We recently had to make a new Facebook page because Facebook's weird and they lock you out of their stuff sometimes. Um, what else? Yeah, YouTube too, the Williams Key. So we're on all the major platforms. I love to talk shop with everybody that has questions or you have a door you're having trouble with. Feel free. My email is out there on all the platforms too. So feel free to email or drop a DM. I'll help talk you through a door if you want, or send me videos or photos of you using the key. We'd love to use that as content as well. So yeah, I love it. I love the interaction. We've sold to all 50 states and about 30 countries internationally. So it's really cool hearing the stories. Please send me those stories. I love to hear the feedback. A lot of cool ones out there. So yeah.
Well, congratulations, because it's super successful and it's a tool specifically talking about the Williams key that just adds value to the fire service. And really, that's all that we as firemen want is just to be able to leave our mark, leave a legacy, and add value to everyone that we can. So, Trevor Williams, man, thank you. Tailboard Misfits podcast. Don't forget, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram. The handle's the same, Tailboard Misfits. We appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.